hey, you want it, go get it. You want it, go get it.
What up, what up? I'm back. And as y'all can see, if you've been paying attention a little bit, in a new truck. It's new to me. New to me, not new, like brand new. It's like new to me. But it's a nice truck. It is what it is. Had to stop everything as far as movie related goes and take a day to go buy a truck because my mechanic, who I trust very much, is a good friend of mine. And he gave me some real advice. He was like, man, you need to go ahead and trade this thing in. It's going to cost more than what it's worth. So I had to go ahead and make that decision. I always said I was going to keep that truck. I always said I was going to keep that truck till the wheels fall off. But it just wasn't smart for me to dump that much money into it when it was already on the downside. Either way, here I am, new truck. Got some stuff to talk about as far as the movie goes. Today is Thursday, and the first day of filming will be Saturday. That's 5 hours of filming on Saturday. And fortunately, the one thing about this truck I ain't figured out yet is how to. I had an old truck now with all these new technology features. I don't know, so I apologize for any weird sounds y'all might hear. I got to figure out how to work this thing. But the good thing is, 10 days after Saturday, that's when we'll have another big session of filming from the 20th to the 26th of March. And then another 10 or 11 days after that, that's when we go through another big session filming from April 7th to the 13th. And then that'll be done. We'll be complete then with filming. But trying to get to Saturday, like I said, got a truck. And I believe really this will be my last one that I purchased with my full-time career now. The next one I purchase will be with my movie career money. Believe God on that for sure, Lord willing. The next thing I wanted to talk about was I did a little time lapse. I showed y'all where I was working on putting the tripod and the camera equipment together, and I told you should always put your stuff together a couple days beforehand just to make sure everything's working right. And everything was working fine, but I was missing 2 screws. And so I had to order some screws. And see, that's the benefit of checking your equipment a few days ahead of time. That way I had time to order. You can't just go to Lowe's and buy these type of stuff. And then Best Buy, when you're dealing with like real cinematic equipment like I have, you got to order that stuff online oftentimes, or go to a camera store if you're in a city that has a camera store. I'm in the country. We ain't got no camera store like that, no elite camera store like that out here. And then the rental equipment is coming in today. Today's be my last day at work. I'm taking tomorrow off just so I can dot all the I's, cross all the T's, look out for any, actors or crew members who got any last minute, something came up, something, whatever. You just want to be flexible that day beforehand. And then the last thing I want to talk about, I had an actor this morning after I sent out the emails about payment and whatnot, and I said this was going to be my last email to all the actors. I had an actor tell me that he misread the schedule and thought he was filming on another day and has a working conflict and cannot film. And this dude is in 3.5 pages of script. He's one scene actor, but he's got a pretty good chunk of script that he was responsible for. So now I got to find another actor. Here I am back in casting, and I'm 2 days away from the first day of filming. So yeah, I'm just keeping y'all up to date on everything that's going on, letting y'all see this process up front. Again, I don't know what that beeping noise is for, but we're gonna get all that resolved. Because I got to figure out how to cut this mess off and just let me drive, homie. But anyway, hope everybody having a good day. And next time y'all talk to y'all, I decided I am gonna talk to y'all about how I got here and what drives me and all that stuff. But right now, I'm on my way to work and I just want to get there and knock some of that stuff out. But maybe on my way back out, we'll talk a little more about that.
Woke up today, looked at your picture just to get me started. I called you up, but you weren't there, and I was broken hearted. Hung up the phone, can't be too late. The boss is so demanding. Opened the door up, and to my surprise, there you were standing.
All right, Okay, so here it is, y'all. The reason why I make these movies and whatnot is it's always been something that's drawn my attention, to be honest. I wrote my first book when I was in middle school. I've always just been like the creative type. Don't label me as a creative, please, because I'm not one of them. Please, they're the type of people who, like, when I think of creative, that's to say, I always think the type of people who they have to feel inspired to do something. That's not me. I just be having these thoughts that have absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing at the time. Like, I'll be in class thinking about superheroes. You know, I'll be at work thinking about what it would be like to go fishing and catch a shark. Like, I mean, my mind ain't ever where my body is. I just put it like that. But I just decided to act on it. You know what I mean? Because I was at an after school program in middle school that my mom and my dad had signed me up for, which brings another point. Parents stay together. You know, even though I'm beefing with my wife right now, and I'm gonna tell y'all about that a little later. But I know some of y'all wondering about that. But yeah, my parents assigned me up for this after school program, my brother and I, and everybody was doing their homework and stuff. I was already done. There was a lady who saw me sitting over there by myself, and she said, well, why are you just sitting here? Don't you got homework? I said, I'm already done with it. And she said, well, why don't you read a book? I said, I don't really want to read a book. And she said, well, if you don't want to read a book, why don't you write a book? And that just made me go like, like what? I can write a book. So I did. I immediately started writing a book. That lady ended up, I'm getting a phone call. I don't know who this is, so they're gonna get a call back. But that lady ended up helping us publish the book and whatnot. My mama still thinks that lady owes us money, so I'm not gonna mention her name because I don't want nobody to get no free publicity from me. But the other thing was, so I got to high school. I started writing a little bit more in high school. Wrote a couple little things in high school, not much, not too serious. I got to college. I started writing plays. It's just something that it's just always been around. You know what I mean? Something I've always enjoyed doing. Then in 2015, I was working on some stuff around the house that was unfinished. One of them included a book that was based on a vacation that my wife and I took back when we were dating to go see my family one time. And I just wrote chapter 1 of it, that's all. And then my wife said, well, why don't you, are you going to finish it, or what are you going to do? You throw it away, or what was it? Because she was just getting sick of all the unfinished projects around the house. And so I said, I'm going to finish all the projects. And I did. I finished all the projects, and I said, I'm including that book, so I'm going to finish the book. And I did. I finished the book, and I enjoyed it so much that I decided to turn it into a trilogy. And then I wrote another standalone novel. And it was that standalone novel that I still say to this day deserves to be a New York Times bestseller, called Mr. Wilder. That first book was called Thankful for My Family, which my first movie was based off of, was that first book. But Mr. Wilder, I felt like deserved to be a New York Times bestseller novel. And then that's when I realized, okay, the audience that I'm writing for, they don't really read like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing or anything like that or whatever. It's just the stuff that I put out necessarily ain't the things that, like, bookworms and stuff like that, really avid readers enjoy reading. My stuff is more like, people would prefer to see it visually. And I've even had people read my books and tell me, Shel, you should really look into turning this into a movie. And so I did. I looked into it by taking this class up at the Writing Center in Bethesda, Maryland, called Adapting Your Novel for the Big Screen. And I thought it was going to tell us about stuff you should put in your novels to make Hollywood producers want to pick up your novel and adapt it to a movie. But nope, that's not what it was. It was this dude who they brought in who's a Hollywood producer, and all he did was just teach you how to write a screenplay. And I was like, man, I'm a novelist, man. I ain't sitting up here trying to write no screenplay. What are you talking about, man? And so one time during a lunch break, it was just him and I left in the room, and he said, what's your story about? So I told him, and he was like, hey man, you should do yourself a favor. I know you only sold on novels. He's like, you should do yourself a favor and turn that into a movie. And so I did. I decided to write it into a screenplay. I bought a couple books just so I could get a little bit more detailed questions or detailed information or whatever on how to do it, formatting and all that stuff, whatever. And I got into it. I started writing screenplays, and I really enjoyed it. And it actually came more natural to me than writing novels, which is kind of odd because with novels you could just let it all out, but with screenplays, the way I visualized it, it just made sense. The formatting made sense for me mentally, visually, I should say. And that's how I got into it. And then from there, you know, I couldn't sell the script. They say, you know, I fortunately through networking, I knew some people who were in the industry, and I was like, I got this script, you know, what do I do with it? How do I get it to, you know, Paramount, Sony, Netflix? How do I get it to somebody can buy it and make it? And they were like, well, you got to get a film agent. Well, what they don't tell you is you can't find no film agent online, okay? The film agents find you is what happened. Or, you know, there's always a way to get in, just like there's no quote unquote way to get into the Writers Guild or the you know, the Directors Guild. Like, you know, it's a lot of it's a really who's who you know, what do you bring to the table? All those questions got to be answered before you start getting those type of phone calls and emails. So I was like, okay. So I knocked on some doors, wasn't getting any answers for getting a film agent. Started looking at independent you know, like film production companies who might want to take it on and whatnot. None of that was happening. And I said, okay, cool. All right, you know what? I'm gonna just make the movie myself. And so that's what I did. I went and made the movie myself. Best and worst thing I did. Best thing I did because I would have never gotten experience, and I would have never made it had I known how difficult it would have been. Okay, and I never would have wanted to do it again, the whole nine, you know. So I learned a ton. I would have never learned stuff that I learned. I never would have known that I needed to learn as much had I not did it. Because I went on set not knowing a thing. I just thought you point the camera and let the actors talk. That's all I didn't know a single thing about making a movie. And then the worst thing it was the worst thing I did though, because I went into it blindly, not knowing the financial part of it. I spent a ton of money on it. Spent a huge chunk of my savings on it to make this thing, and you know, it was some people were overpaid. I'll say that. I ain't gonna name no names, but some people were overpaid. Some people were underpaid. Let me make that clear too. Some people were underpaid. Some people really shined in that movie, and then some people was just like, yo. But learned a ton on the fly, and afterwards I just became. I mean, I was reading before that because, you know, they always say writers should read. I didn't believe that at first when I first started writing, but then eventually I bought into it and started reading more. But after I got off that set, I became an avid reader then because it was so much that I did not know. And I'm talking about from behind the camera and in front of the camera when I was directing actors. I couldn't talk their language. You know, with the camera people and the sound people, I didn't know what they were talking about. I was just trusting them with everything and they would come to me with questions, and I was like, I didn't have a point of reference to give an answer. So that's what I did. I started studying cinematography, started studying camera, started studying sound, started studying acting, started studying how to location scout and what to look for. You know, the whole nine, because at that point all I knew was the story. All I knew was about screenwriting. All I knew was the story. I didn't know how to get an actor to portray that and bring that to life, what to say to them. So I started studying all those things, and then I started making short films. I started my own production company, bought the equipment myself. And I built the crew up myself by going to film festivals as a screenwriter. In 2020, I won the Atlanta Comedy Film Festival. That was after making my first film. Like I said, while I was doing all this studying and whatnot, I won the Atlanta Comedy Film Festival, and that's when I started networking. Going to film festivals as a screenwriter was a great way to network because, number one, nobody feels like they're in competition with you when it comes to a film. And then number two, they want to speak to screenwriters because most directors and stuff, they want to just get to the point where they're on set. They don't want to have to write the script and whatnot. And so it was like, it was great. I was able to talk to everybody, and everybody was so engaging, and everybody had their guards down because I didn't appear as a threat or somebody trying to win the festival over them or any of that mess. You know, I just was there to network, which is true. I really was, and I ended up winning the 2020 Atlanta Comedy Film Festival for Best Overall Screenplay. Something that I'm still proud of, very much so until today, even to today. And yeah. And after that, you know, made a few more short films just to really sharpen my teeth and get good at the craft, to get good at like building my team and getting good at working with actors who have different approaches towards acting. There's different methods of acting, and so just really built myself up to a place where I feel confident on any person's set now. And I've been hired now to do to be different roles on other people's sets now, and I feel very comfortable on any set, and I feel confident as I go into making my film that I know what I'm doing and that I have a story that will really resonate with people and do well to general audiences, with general audiences. So yeah, that's how I got. I'm on my lunch break right now, but that's how I got to where I am now with making this film. When I come back at y'all, I know y'all dying to hear why me and my wife are beefing. Lord have mercy. But I'm gonna update y'all on some more stuff that's going on. Like I told y'all this morning, had an actor misschedule his stuff or whatever. So I'm gonna tell y'all about what I've been doing with that, and I'm also gonna talk to y'all about, like I said, why we beefing, and that's another hurdle. That's just something else added to the pot. Just added to the pot of everything going on when you're making a movie. Yeah, that's it. And what drives me, I'll talk about that too. All right.